what do they miss? What are the insights and the truths about the way that consumers really go about shopping and choosing between brands that companies miss, and which, if they understood, would enable them to be much more effective in the way they deploy their resources and deliver growth?
Well, I think the biggest mistake that companies make is thinking that consumers are buying very logically and that they stand in front of the shopping aisle, or if they're getting a service, that they stand and logically evaluate every option, one versus the other. Consumers, human beings, we simply don't act that way. And there's a lot of great science that now understands how our brains actually do work. And our brains are working away in the background to basically make our lives a lot simpler. And so when it comes to shopping and buying, what we do to make our lives simpler is our brain buys on autopilot. And it's all happening subconsciously. We're not logically thinking about every decision that we're trying to make. And what happens is, because of consumers' experiences with brands over time, the consumer will pick a small number of favorite brands with whom they will have generated a strong emotional bond. And then literally every time that they go and use that product or service, they are buying on autopilot. They're not thinking out loud, what am I going to buy? What am I going to use this time around? They're simply choosing it because it's born out of habit to keep everything as simple as possible. And back to the point you made earlier about, are all purchases up for grabs? Well, they're clearly not, because the consumer screens out all other brands who are desperately shouting to try and get the purchase that the consumer has already made because they're buying on autopilot. So I guess that's the big secret, is that consumers are buying emotionally because of emotional goals that they're trying to reach, and they're buying those brands on autopilot.